first of all, I want to thank every one of you who came out here tonight in the rain. Thank you for your attendance. This is the first workshop of the Energy Savings Solutions series. The idea of the series is really to promote education about energy efficiency at the home scale, and it was thought of as part of the Energy Action Plan working group, of which I'm a member. And for those of you who haven't heard, the Grass Valley Energy Action Plan was approved last November, and recently, in February of this year, the county approved its own energy action plan. So there's a lot of momentum around energy efficient design, building, architecture, you name it. And I'm really pleased to present Gary Klein, who has decades of experience in hot water distribution efficiency. So to give you a little bit of background, the Grass Valley Energy Action Plan is basically an assessment of the energy distribution and use here in the city limits, municipalities, and the community as well. And then it's also an effort to develop that long-term plan for promoting more energy efficiency in the general plan of the city, and to help City Council implement that. So without further ado, I want to just go into a few housekeeping items. I wanted to point out that there are plenty of snacks here, feel free. There are beverages and hot water as well. And all of this is a volunteer effort, so if you could please put a few dollars there just to cover the expenses of the beverages, the food, and the printing materials. I also want to let you know that we're filming this event tonight to provide an educational resource for the community, so it will be eventually on the Grass Valley Energy Action Plan website and on YouTube. So if anyone is not comfortable with being filmed, just let me know and we can make sure that you're edited out afterwards. The restrooms are over there if you need to use them.
In case of a fire, go out that door.
Exactly. So I will go ahead and let Gary take over.
Thank you all. Thanks, everybody. So apparently you can blame Paul for my being here today. I also know one of the folks who lives up here, Ray Darby. We used to work together at the Energy Commission many years ago. So if we were just to meet on an airplane and you asked what I did for a living, I'd tell you I'm in hot water. I'm married and I have kids, and I'm a guy. Are there any other questions? Right? But I've been working in the field of hot water efficiency for about 25, 30 years. My whole career has been in energy efficiency and renewable energy. From the time I was in college till now, I don't know any differently. I've been able to be in my field of interest my whole working life, which is very fortunate. About 2005, I managed a policy report at the Energy Commission having to do with the connection between water and energy. And during that process, we looked at what was going on in California and made public policy for the Energy Commission to give forth to the state, having to do with how do you make that connection between water and energy more efficient. So when asked what I do, my business works on sustainability with an emphasis on the water energy carbon connection. Okay? So I came here today with a plan of what I intend to share with you based on green plumbing. But you all took time out of your day to come here. What's one thing? Why did you come here tonight? Anybody want to make sure I try and cover that before we're done in an hour and a half? You want to cover circulation?
Yes.
Okay, I remember that. We will cover circulation, I promise. And you mean hot water circulation, right?
Yes.
Okay, yes?
I'm curious about people who live with wells and how to make that distribution more efficient.
So wells and well pumping,
Well
right?
pumping, yes.
Okay. Anything else? That's it? We're gonna go home in 5 minutes? Does anybody want to know about, let's go ahead.
This may be a little bit off your topic, but I'm wondering if there's any way to use water like NID water to run something like a Pelton wheel to create energy.
So you want to talk about in-conduit hydro?
Okay, yes. You
Is that
put
what you
it so
wanted?
much more nicely.
Is that what you wanted to ask about?
Yeah, that's it.
Sorry, my spelling is lacking today.
And I'd like to know, as a homeowner, what's like the newest things I should need to know overall to a replacement, renovation.
Can we do new stuff for that?
Yeah, new stuff.
New stuff.
Yeah, what's
I
the
promise to
latest?
talk about new stuff,
That'd be
yes.
great.
Solar hot water?
If you insist. Okay? Well, let's get started. You please ask questions. I'm here to answer them for you. I'm going to try and avoid using slides. Okay? I can, but we've all been seeing way too many PowerPoints. It's too common these days. So what I'd like to do is to share with you a few key things about hot water systems. That's your questions today. We can talk about cold water plumbing as well, and cold water irrigation, all that kind of stuff. This is wide open. This is for you. And if I can't answer it, I'll tell you, and if we have to go find an answer, we'll figure out how to get it. If you want to find me, Gary Klein and Associates, or GaryKleinAssociates.com, will find me. It'll get to you to my info webmail, which comes to me. If you can't find me in 5 minutes on the web, you're not trying. There's lots of video out there, similar to what we're doing this evening has been recorded before, and there's stuff to read and things like that. All right? So, I have a few questions. Do you know anyone who waits a long time to get hot water somewhere in their house after they turn on a tap? Raise your hands. Anybody wait at least 5 seconds? Keep your hands up. How about 15 seconds or more? How about 30 seconds or more? How about a minute or more? Ooh, we got some, keep your hands up. I gotta see them here. How many are 2 minutes or more?
Yes, I'm not sure, I don't think it's 2 minutes, but
All right, we're gonna pick on you. We'll get to you. Trust me, it's good. So,
In a business, does that count?
that's fine. So tell me, how many square feet is the business? Approximately.
Sales floor is 8,000.
Okay, so it's pretty big. And it's got 2 bathrooms and a kitchenette.
5 bathrooms.
Okay, I've never met your business. And the water heater is not near the bathrooms.
Correct.
Okay, how far away is it?
Opposite side of the building.
Oh, good, why?
That's the way it was designed.
Yeah, okay, so any architects here? Any engineers here? Anybody who designs buildings here? Don't do that, okay? By the way, we've studied this question a lot this past year, and we found a way to get 2 bathrooms, a laundry room, and a kitchen, which is what's here in this room right now, with less than 10 feet of plumbing wall. That's impressive, including the water heater, so 12 feet. And that's for any house with 2 bathrooms, a laundry room, and a kitchen. Well, you're the plumbers, it costs less to put in 1 plumbing wall than it does to put in 6, right? I'm sorry, but it does cost less, right?
Yeah,
Well,
I lived in a house like that.
Yeah, but not now.
But
Yeah. So here's the thing that's happened.
What kind of hot water heater?
Any kind you want. Almost. I mean, it's a question of location. Remember the real estate rules? Location, location, location? The same is true about hot water. We need to get the architecture right in order to get the plumbing right. If we don't get the architecture right, we have to make lemonades from lemons. So how do we improve your office? Right? We'll answer that question tonight in terms of a house, if that's fair. So your house waits at least a minute and a half based on my best guess. How many square feet is your house?
well, it's not really my house, it's hit my aunt's house.
Okay, but you've been there.
Yeah, but I am wondering, it'll be the same answer, it's way over there. What about the Europeans, they use those boxes right there at the site of the shower?
Okay, so they typically put in a tankless water heater right in the bathroom or the kitchen. We don't actually let people do that very often in the United States. We have some other codes that prevent us from doing some of those things.
Why is that?
Because-
Fire hazard or what?
I haven't got a friggin' clue.
Because they're backwards.
You know, it's,
Lobbying?
I'll cover it how and why,
Okay.
but we're used to doing things a certain way, and they've become part of the way we do stuff. Here's the dilemma we face. How many bathrooms in your aunt's house?
Shoot,
And a kitchen?
yes,
And they're not next to each other.
right.
you'd need 3 water heaters. Oh, I forgot the laundry room, 4 water heaters. You didn't want to buy 1 water heater, let alone 4. Plumbing is inexpensive compared to water heaters. The problem is it has volume, and the volume starts out cold. And the dilemma we face is that no matter what the volume is, you have to clear that volume out before hot water comes out the other end of it, right? Right?
Right?
And one of the things we've learned that most people don't know is that it takes a lot more water than is in the pipe before hot water comes out the other end of it. We know it takes more water, right? Because at least you gotta heat the pipe, right? Well, how much more do you think it takes? Anyone think it takes at least 10% more water before hot water comes out the other end? Raise your hands. You should all raise your hands. At least 10%. How about, 30%? 50%? Double? Triple?
It doesn't matter how long the hose is, how much volume the hose has?
It's proportional to the volume in the pipe. So if you have this much pipe, it takes a certain amount more than that. If you've got a mile of pipe, it takes a certain amount more than that, right?
So that's where the percentage is.
Yeah. So the kicker is, it takes 1.5 to 2.5 times the volume that's in a pipe before hot water comes out the other end. So if you want hot water to show up in a certain amount of volume, call it a gallon, you shouldn't have more than 1/2 gallon in the pipe. You don't talk about plumbing in half gallons and gallons, you talk about it in feet and diameters, right? Well, it's convertible. You've got a table, I know, because you got the book, right?
I have it.
And so what we're going to do is to share with you tonight how to do those calculations. And then there's a table, look it up, and when you know the basic math, the math is easy. It's not hard to do. Okay? Fair enough? That's one of the things we're going to do tonight. The other thing we're going to do is to measure the water energy and time efficiency of the plumbing of a small house. Right? We built a house here today. Renata and I built a house this afternoon in about 15 minutes. We put in the wet rooms, those are in blue, and we put in the fixtures, which are generally in orange and some are in green. And we put in tape to different widths to represent pipe of different diameters. And we plumbed the house fairly typically. You're the plumbers, you'll tell us if we did it sort of typical. I know we made some mistakes intentionally. But you'll tell us, right? And we're going to measure how long it takes to get water from the water heater back to the bathroom and to the kitchen. Okay? And we're going to figure out how to fix it. Everybody ready? All right, so I think I want to teach you first about how tall you are. You ready? I need a bunch of volunteers, in fact, most of you, but we'll see. Who thinks there might be the tallest person here this evening? I got 2 volunteers, I'm guessing. Anybody over 6'3"? 6'2"? 6'1"? All right. He's tall. I know you were one of the tall dudes. I saw as you were walking in. All right. Who thinks they might be the shortest person here this evening? All right, come on up. I'm going to guess it's you, Debbie. That's right. You guys come over here. Just stand right here. You all are going to want to volunteer or sit on that side because you're going to have your backs to everybody. Now I need to have, who wants to be our water heater? I need a volunteer to be a water heater.
I'll be your water heater.
Great. Go stand over there, please.
All right. On the X?
No, too far away. Just stand near the column.
Okay.
All right. Now I need 3 volunteers right away, please. Come. All right. Take one end. Give her the other end, please. All the way. Give our water heater one end.
Oh, it is.
Give water heater. You get an end, and you get an end of the white one. Keep coming this way. Everybody goes that way. That way. Trust me.
This way?
Everybody goes that way. Everybody goes that way.
Everybody but me.
Yeah, you stay still. You can stand next to the column if you want to. And then you get that end, hold the ends all together straight. Perfect. And you go that way. And straighten them out all the way. Yep. Straighten them out. Straight, 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 straight. Come back this way. Cool. Perfect. All right. I need you guys to stand right there. One on each side of that pipe, please. You
Okay.
gotta be next to each other.
Okay.
Okay? You hold that one. You get to hold that one. Hold it from the bottom so it doesn't hang out. All right, and then I need Another volunteer, please. Come on, volunteer time. Come on, we got lots of, everyone gets to play tonight. Come on over here. If you would come straight back this way. And he wants to see you, so stand so he can see you. Okay, come over here. See the guy with the video camera? Make sure he can see you, kids. Okay. Another volunteer. Okay. Over here. Stand right over here. And one more. Told you it's time for volunteering. Great. And why don't you come over here and stand right over here. Okay? We good?
Yep.
Thank you all very much. All right. All of these pipes, if they were full of water, would each contain exactly the same amount of water. Every individual pipe. Same volume in each pipe. How much do you think that might be? And you can't give away the answer. I know he knows. I'm telling you, they're all, each of them are the same.
Half a gallon?
I hear a vote for a half gallon. Anybody think it might be a half a gallon? Raise your hands.
Less.
Less.
Less. Anybody think it might be a quart?
Okay.
We got a few votes for a quart.
I have no
They
idea.
didn't like the half gallon number. I usually start with a gallon, but you started the game for us. All right, how many think it might be a pint? How many think it might be a cup? How many think it might be a cup? How many think it might be a cup? Good answer.
This is not a couple.
Each one of them is a cup. Yes.
Oh, each one of these are a
Each
cup.
individual pipe is one cup. You have 3 cups.
Even over there?
Okay, so this is.
Every single pipe is 1 cup. This is 6 ounces. It's a little bit more than this. Yeah, I've been called out on it, so you're welcome to go do it, get the water and figure it out. But they are all each a cup. We're gonna get there, trust me. So, yeah, so they're different inside diameters, which is why they have different lengths. So this is 1/4-inch tubing. Where do we use 1/4-inch tubing in a home?
Icemaker.
Refrigerator, the Icemaker, what else? Yeah, from the angle stop up to the sink. It's a 3/8 fitting, but it's probably like 1/4-inch tubing. It's small, right? Toilets often have 1/4-inch tubing. Again, from the angle stop to the toilet, right? There's bigger fittings, but skinny
It's
tube.
still, yeah.
The pipe is the pipe, and this is probably it. If not that, it's the 5/16. So how many feet long does that look like to you? Count the ceiling tiles. Trust me, that's the trick.
22.
You're close. 25. Very good. It's 25 feet long. And by the way, they're marked in 2-foot increments.
Oh, well.
But anyway, that's a hint for you, by the way. You should start counting. So, because I'm going to ask you the same question. So it's 20. We use it for 1/4-inch tubing. Well, if it's used for sinks, what's the flow rate of a sink?
Pretty darn good.
Well, it's anywhere from 1.2 max to 2.2 max, depending on when you put your faucet in. And this is the same. They didn't change this. It still works. So clearly it's okay. There's pressure drop. You lose a certain amount of pressure from where it starts to where it ends. So you don't want miles of skinny tubing. But a couple, 3 feet, 10 feet, no big deal, right? It works. But most people say that's too skinny. They won't let us put this small a pipe behind the walls. Okay? You're going to have a fitting. It's going to make the inside smaller. It's going to gunk up. There's sand in the water. We don't like it. So how about 5/16? That's what you've got. How many feet long does that look like to you, Renata?
18.
17 and a half? Yeah, good guess, great. So it's about there, right? It's got the same volume as this does. Now here's a practical application. Imagine I have a group of bathrooms in your office, in your building, and they have a sink, and imagine I had a recirc loop up in the ceiling, I had to come down the wall to reach the sinks. About 10 feet? Close enough for this conversation, right? 10 feet is not quite half of this, right? That needs to be a half a cup between this water in the ceiling, the recirc loop or the hot water pipe, and the sink. How long would it take for hot water to get there? 1 cup. Remember, 2 to 1 roughly? So hot water would show up in about that much. Well, that's faster than it happens in his office now. Better part of a day, you turn on the water now, it might show up tomorrow morning. If you put in legal flow rate for public lavatory faucets, their max is a half a gallon a minute. If you get the hands-free type, it's only a quarter gallon in on each side. Max. Well, guess what? It's going to take a long time to clear out the pipe. Everything we've done to lower flow rates has made it take longer to get hot water to fixtures because we haven't, in a corollary move, reduced the diameter of the pipes. The next big step we have to do is to allow us to reduce the diameter of the piping to match the current legal flow rates. The plumbing code was written down in the 1940s for fixtures and faucets and toilets and urinals that existed in 1940. There have been no changes to pipe sizing since then. And we don't have anything that flushes or flows at those rates anymore.
Well, why?
That needs much more serious drinks than water. Trust me. All right, so this is, this 5/16. We could do the same basic design and hot water would show up in a cup and a quarter, cup and a half. Still pretty good, right? It's way better than gallons. All right, I don't like that. It's still too skinny. It's going to gunk up. I don't, forget it. It won't happen. How about 3/8?
12 feet.
Yes. In fact, it's almost 12 and a half, and it's almost exactly half of that one. Okay? I could still have the same basic design, but now here's the kicker. If I have this pipe coming down the wall to a bank of 5 sinks, I can connect 5 sinks to this. So I come down the wall once and go sideways with skinny tubing. The physics says so. The code does not allow it. Okay, so there's a distinction between what works and what's easily approved by a code body.
And you have the right amount of pressure and the right amount of volume?
That's what I mean by working.
Wow.
Yeah, who knew, right? So one of the things we have as a problem is that we need to demonstrate that this works to people who spent their whole lives building it another way, right? Because unless we explain it, everyone I've ever met in the plumbing industry appears to be from Missouri. Show me. Right? Is that about right, Paul? Okay, so you've got the 1/2-inch tubing, Debbie. You are 5'2"-ish, I'm going to guess. Okay, well, I was giving you credit for your
Okay,
shoes.
thank you, I got these size shoes on.
Yeah, okay, so 5-ish?
Yeah.
Okay, I have people in my household who are 5-ish too.
Okay.
And so that's 5'4" in copper, and that's 6'7", 6'8" in the plastics. Okay? Everybody good? This is the legal minimum allowed in the state of California in the plumbing code, behind the walls. You can ask permission to put in 3/8, whether it's copper or PEX. They don't make it in CPVC, which is the white stuff. You can ask permission and your plumbing inspector can say yes or no. Everybody's got to wake up on the right side of bed for that to happen. It's a tough sell. So you've got the 3/4-inch tubing. How many feet long do those look like to you?
9.
No, each, please. 3. Yeah, so 2.5 to 3.5 roughly. Okay? You've got the 1-inch tubing. How long do those look like to you?
Almost 2 feet.
Yeah, so 18 to 24, turns out. You've got the 1 1/4 and 1.5. So 16, 12, and 10.
Yeah.
Okay? And you've got the 2-inch ones, 6, 7, 8 inches long, something like that?
Agreed. Yeah.
Every one of these pipes, if they were full of water, would contain how much water?
1
Yeah.
And if you want to waste no more than a cup while you wait, what's the maximum amount of water that can be in the pipe that's not hot? Half a cup. Very good, you're paying attention. Most people can't even answer that one. So that's the trick to good plumbing design. The problem is, that's not how your house was designed. Right?
Yeah.
So now we have to make lemonade out of lemons. Fair enough? All right, give these people a big hand, put the pipes back in the corner, put them on the floor, I'll take care of them later. Everybody good with that? Was that useful as an exercise?
Well, it was as an exercise, but how do we apply it?
We're gonna do that next. Okay? So now I need 3 new volunteers. Just put in the corners, don't flop around for a while. We'll clean them up later. All right. Who wants to read the gauge? You want to do it? Sure. Okay, I need one more volunteer besides you. I said 3. People don't count well here. That's good. I need to ask you both a question. Who wants to make breakfast?
I will.
Good. Then you get to pick this bathroom and you're going to take your shower first.
Okay.
And you stand in the bathroom here. Come over here, please. And walk in your door. There's your door. There's your bathroom. And you're going to come with me, Dave, over here. And we're going to need to just walk by you a little bit, so if you move back a tad, it'll be better. Perfect. All right, so we built a house here in the floor of this room before you got here today. There's a water heater in the corner in the garage. Is that where we put them here in California?
Yep.
Next to the wall into the house, right?
Yep.
I've seen them at the wall at the front of the garage. That adds 25 feet to the hot water line. Saves 25 feet of gas line, but adds 25 feet to the hot water line every day. Not the best of choices to put at the front of the garage. All right, water heater's here in the corner. There's a laundry room. There's a kitchen. And we go down the hall to back-to-back bathrooms. Does that sound like a house you've seen before?
Yeah.
Yeah? Maybe even live in one sort of like that. Now, back-to-back could be up and down. You know, the plumbing can't tell what direction it goes, right? It doesn't know. By the way, it can't read, so it doesn't know what building it's in. Why are the codes different for commercial and residential? I don't know either. Okay? So what we're going to do now is to measure the water, energy, and time efficiency of the plumbing in this house. And then we're going to try and fix it. Are we good? So there's a water, what we have, I need to know, does the house have a foundation slab on grade, raised floor, or basement?
Base floor,
Yeah.
Raised
floor.
Raised floor?
yeah.
Most common one here.
That's
Good,
what's-
so then we'll use raised floor. I didn't know. I could guess, why? You get hills. I live in flatland, we don't get hills. They do slab on grade. If we were in Kansas, they get basements. Why? Tornadoes and freezing. And we don't get either of those here, so we don't do basements much. We get some freezing, but it's like 6 inches deep, so it doesn't count. Okay? When the frost depth goes 4 feet, you build a basement. Because your foundation has to go 4 feet, and you may as well go another 4 and get something for the trouble. Okay? But we don't do that here. So, water heater, what kind of water heater is it going to be? Gas, electric, tankless? Propane. So it's propane storage probably is the most common.
Right?
Is that about right? Is it up on a platform in the garage?
Yeah.
Yep.
What about the new ones?
It's got, if it's in the garage, it's gotta be, if it's gas, it's gotta be on a platform.
Not where I live anymore.
How did you get out of that code? I wanna know.
Well, it has to do with whether the water heater is flammable, vapor, ignition resistant.
Fiber.
Yeah, if it's fiber, it can't, we have water heaters on platforms because gas is heavy and it falls down and it gets away from the burner. And if kids play in the garage with gasoline and it used to be able to explode and burn little kids, and that's really horrible. So manufacturers develop technology that looks like Bunsen burners do from high school chemistry, and the flame can't pass back through the screen. Fiber, whatever we call it, flammable, vapor, ignition resistant. And since it can't pass back through, we don't technically need to put them up on platforms anymore. We still want to protect them from our cars, right? But we don't have to put them up on platforms. And I'm going to guess that the propane ones have the same fiber in them too. So
Yep.
old water heaters are on platforms and new ones are because we haven't changed our rules. But the physics doesn't require it.
Did the code change requiring tankless? Or is it just for new builds,
New builds.
starting 2018?
Yeah, I think so. I used to work at the Energy Commission. They never let me work on codes and standards. So it wasn't what I chose either, but I understand the physics, and sometimes 2 + 2 is not 4, and that always worries me. It had better show up as 4 every time we check. All right, so the water heater, is it going to put the water heater on a platform? Because it probably is.
Yeah.
Now, so the water heater's 2 feet up, right?
14 inches.
18 inches.
Whatever. And the top of the water heater is how far off the floor?
6 feet.
Yeah, call it 8, call it 7, 8, call it 8 feet, okay? I gotta come out of the water heater, I gotta go into the wall, I gotta go down 8 feet plus a little bit further to get under the floor. So call it, how about 10 feet till I can connect with my plumbing below the floor? Does that sound about right?
At least you have risers coming out of the water heater to the wall that are going to be 2 to 3 feet long.
Yeah, okay. So 12 feet. We good? Would you roll that till it says 12 and 0? Thank you. We have to start somewhere. It just doesn't matter. By the way, that's true no matter how big your house is. If you've got a platform and you got to go up and out and down and in, that costs you 10 to 12 feet just to make that shift. Right? It's on every single hot water draw you added 10 to 12 feet. What diameter pipe would this house probably have for its big pipe in a trunk and branch system? 3/4?
3/4.
That's what we have. Good. So 3/4 inch pipe, what material is it going to be? PEX or copper?
Yes.
PEX. So we'll call it 3 feet per cup. It's close. All right? So we'll call it 3 feet per cup. So we now have 4 cups before we've started. Right? All right, I want you to put the wheel down and roll over toward me to the first tee. And then lift it up and read it and tell me what you got. Yeah, the glasses problem.
18 feet.
Cool. That's 6 cups. We've gone 5 feet. But we've got 6 cups in the plumbing before we open the washing machine. And then we have a branch to the washing machine, and we're plumbing from below, so we got to go over a few feet and up a few feet. We'll just stipulate that that's a cup. Okay? In my general rules of thumb, it's about a cup to get up and about 2 cups to come down. Okay? It's close. Just let's not get hung up on exact measurements. It's close for this conversation. So in order to get to the washing machine, I have 6 + 1 is 7. 7 cups in the pipe. We know it's going to be more than that till the hot water gets there. It's almost 14 cups. That's double. 16 cups is a gallon. Anybody got one of those new washing machines?
I do.
The water efficient ones?
Yeah.
So how much water does that first draw make? About a gallon? It got cold water. Now, we wash in cold water a lot, no mistake.
No.
But if you wanted it to be hot water, it wasn't.
Right.
Oops. Oops, when it was a 5-gallon bucket or a 10-gallon bucket, it didn't matter. The first gallon is trivial in that case. And when that was true, most of us washed with hot water. Well, that's changed. Washing machines, if you want hot water, it had better be close because the draws are so
Mine's
small.
right exactly next to it.
Then you got lucky.
Yeah.
But we're
Just
not
by that.
far.
Yeah.
We're not far, and it's still far.
Right.
Okay? All right, so keep on going. Let's go to the next one. By the way, the washing machine probably draws water at a couple gallons a minute, maybe more, but call it 2. That means that hot water is going to get there in 30 seconds, roughly speaking. Okay? And that's about right. What many you got?
27, almost.
Okay, good. You got the idea. We're going to do multiples of 3 and we'll not worry about the specific inches. Hey, we built the house in 15 minutes. Let's not worry about exact measurements here, right? All right, so this is the branch to the kitchen sink. How many cups? We have 27 feet?
27.
So 9 cups, plus a branch that we'll also stipulate is still 1 cup. Okay? Because it's coming from below and up. But if it was coming from above down, don't they often put a window right over the kitchen sink?
Yeah.
Isn't that a law here too? Well, it's not a law, I'm being silly, but it's often done, right? Outside walls, you get a window, right? Okay, you know the people who make dual pane windows don't want us to put our plumbing through their window. So you gotta go around the window. That adds a cup to your design, roughly speaking. Does anybody ever run into somebody put an earthquake support right in the way of where you wanted to put the plumbing and you can't drill through it? Come on, has that ever happened to anybody? Like every day, right? So you have to go around it. And the reason I put the branch after the sink, not before the sink, or straight into the sink, is that there's almost always an obstruction in the way. And the rule I want to give you is you should do your best to get closer to the source. But sometimes you can't. Okay? And close is the volume in the branch. Okay? We're going to talk a little later about elbows and things, right? As in, the fewer the better. Okay? But we'll come to that. So we've got, what do we have here now? We had 9 cups, 10 cups, close to 20 cups before hot water gets there. That's almost a gallon and a half. 24 cups is a gallon and a half. What's the flow rate of your sink now? About a gallon and a half.
1.2?
No, the
Well,
bathrooms are 1.2, kitchen sinks are 1.8
Yeah.
with a 2.2 bump up, right? That's the law in California. But we rarely run our sinks full flow. The only time we run sinks full flow that I'm aware of is to fill the pot, right? Or to fill the sink, right? For some reason, right? Well, we don't do that all the time. We rarely do that. But, so it's gonna be about a minute to get hot water here. Right? Interesting. You know, I can still see the water heater over there. I'm not very far, am I?
True.
It's that first 12 feet that we had to put in to connect things up that's costing us right now. It's a big lever. Everyone got the basic idea? It's a lever, and it's a big one. All right, let's keep going. Go find another T. Keep going. You're doing good. Keep going. Keep going. Find a T. And stop. How many feet you got?
60.
We are not in a big room. Anybody live in a house that's bigger than this? All right? So we could measure it a little bit more. We're just going to stipulate that this room is 60 feet away from the water heater. Is that okay? You're done, Dave. You can have a seat. Thank you. You did a great job. Give him a hand. It's great. All right. Now, it's your guys' turn. We need your help to do some stuff. It's 60 feet. And we'll stipulate, even though I didn't draw it that way, that each branch is 1 to 2 cups. We're going to call it 2 cups here because of the way I did it. Are we good? So, you're going to shower first. No, you're showering. Who's making breakfast?
Making breakfast.
You're making breakfast? You get to shower first so you have time to get dressed to go make breakfast.
Right.
Okay. So I want you to turn, don't stand in the shower. Turn in there, reach in and turn on the tap.
Okay.
There's your
I
shower.
got it, right, okay.
Shower's there, turn it on, don't get in here, it's cold.
Right.
It's winter, it's cold.
Right, right.
It's a raised floor and it's vented, so I know it's cold up here. Okay? How long is it gonna take for hot water to get here?
Well, let's see, that would be
It's 60,
60 feet.
which is 20 cups plus 2.
So it's 40 and 50 cups,
Yeah, 24, 44 cups.
okay?
Yeah. Right?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So it's, what's the flow rate of your shower head, do you know?
No,
I don't either. How about 2 gallons a minute just to pick a number?
okay.
Is that fair? By the way, it's not. It's less. It's closer to a gallon a minute. But we'll pick 2 and pick a gallon, we'll do the numbers. Just call it a gallon a minute. So we have 44, it's almost 48, that's 3 gallons. So about 3 minutes till hot water gets here, somewhere between 2 and 3 minutes. It's your house, your aunt's house. Anybody live where it takes about this long?
Yeah,
Yeah, this is not uncommon, and we are in a small room. Now, I'll tell you that I ran the plumbing a little further than might otherwise be done. I did it to make sure I had enough feet for the example. But you know what? Somebody put a beam over there, they had an atrium in the way. I had to go around this way because they didn't give me a full footing over. I don't know. Obstructions happen. You want the shortest path with the fewest elbows. Okay? That's the rule. Why? Because that's the least volume and the least pressure drop. That's why we do it. All right, so you can get in your shower, step in, and I want you to shower. Come on. Brush your hair, whatever you're gonna do, turn around, you gotta, what you're, right, good, you can rinse off, right, and we're done. Turn off the tap and get out.
Okay.
Great. Now you're gonna go to the sink because it's time to wash your face or something else that's gotta happen, brush your teeth with hot water, okay?
Yeah.
Where's the hot water?
Well, it's already here, right?
Where? Well, it's here.
It's there, right,
It's wherever this branch is.
right.
So you get to clear a smaller branch if it's designed right. But we're gonna call it 2 cups, because we said so earlier.
Okay.
So you have to clear 2 cups now, which means 4 cups, which is a quart. At a gallon a minute, it's 15 seconds till hot water gets there. Right? That's pretty good. Right? That would be everybody happy if it was 15 seconds every time?
Yeah, but it's added on to the,
Ah, yeah, there is that problem, right? Can't put anything past you, this is good. All right, you can get ready to go make breakfast, but hang out. You can just stay over here for a bit.
okay.
You have been waiting. Stand outside your shower, please, because you really don't want to turn it on while it's there. You've been waiting for her to finish.
Right.
Because you know that if she showers first, you don't wait so long. Right?
But I took
No,
all the
but
hot
yes.
water.
Now you know.
Yeah, now I know.
You took a really long shower.
Yeah.
We used to run out on Thursday mornings. Huh? Why Thursday morning? On Thursday morning, our school district told our teenagers to come to school an hour later. I had smart kids, they got up an hour later. That put them in my shower window. They were normally up at 6, out by 7. On Thursdays, they were up at 7, out by 8, so was I, so was my wife, so was our little kid. I was the third shower. Now, has anybody ever had a useless conversation with a teenager? Been on the receiving end of one?
Yeah.
Okay, me too. So we didn't have this conversation with our son, because it was our son. We had, at that time, we had 4 kids. And the 2 girls would get ready, the teenage girls would get ready in the evening because they needed more time and wanted more time and didn't want to be rushed in the morning. And our son waited the last possible second to get out of bed to get to the bus. And so he was in that shower window, whatever it was. On Thursday mornings, and only on Thursday mornings, I would get out of bed before my wife, shower first, she would shower second, our son would apparently shower third. He never once complained about running out of hot water when we lived at home in high school. Not once. He's a teenager. His job is to complain, and I noticed they're really good at it. Okay? And so he came home from college a couple of years ago, and I asked him, how do you know it was time to get out of the shower when he used to live at home? Without missing a beat, he says, I ran out of hot water. Like, that was the answer. He'd been waiting for me to ask that question for 10 years, right? And it's like if you give him an endless shower, he might still be in 8th grade. You gotta be careful what you wish for, okay? So, mostly it's the 3rd shower that runs out. You can run out sooner, and that's just really bad design and bad choices for the water heater or really long showers, and it's possible, but it's rare. Most new houses get 50-gallon water heaters if they're gas storage and propane storage. They have 40,000 BTU per hour burner, and most of us take 8-minute showers on average. Teenagers, all bets are off. Long hair, all bets are off. I don't have that problem anymore, either one, being a teenager or long hair. So you are going to turn on your tap, but before you do, tell me where you think the hot water is.
2 cups worth.
Well, yeah, it's probably right there. And we're stipulating 2 cups worth. It's wherever the branch to your fixture is that's hot. If it's all the way over there, it's a long branch. If it's here, it's a short branch. And we stipulated 2 cups because we can see the plumbing. Okay? So you can turn on the tap, and how long is it going to take for you to get hot water?
About the time I climb in.
Good, so turn on the tap and get in. You got the idea. And shower, please. Gotta wash, come on, do the wash. Very relaxed. You gotta turn off the shower now, please. Thank you. And you're gonna have to trim up the beard today, so come over to the sink. Where's the hot water?
30 seconds.
Maybe much less.
10 seconds,
Well,
depends how it's plumbed.
Well, if it's plumbed here and it's not that long, the hot water could literally be behind the wall, because that's the way the house was built. If you insulate the pipe, you double the cool down time in half-inch pipe and triple it in 3/4. So uninsulated half-inch pipe cools down in about 10 minutes. Uninsulated 3/4-inch pipe cools down in about 15 minutes in room temperature air. You put it in a crawl space, it cools down quicker. You put it under a slab, it cools down even faster than that. But if you put insulation on it, it roughly doubles the down time in air for half and triple for 3/4. Okay? It's much bigger percentage when it's in a crawl space because it's cold or under slab. Everybody got it? Okay. So it's somewhere between practically instant to somewhere back over here. Depends how long this whole exercise took. If you wait an hour, you're back to square one. You wait 20 minutes in half-inch pipe, you're almost back to square one. Okay?
Yep.
So clusters of hot water events help you. The problem is, we don't know when those are going to happen. Right? We've been a household of 6 for a while. A month ago, we were a household of 5. We're now down to 4, and next month we'll be 3. Teenagers are supposed to leave. They rebound. They're yo-yos. They come back and forth, I've noticed. And so ours are in the yo-yoing era, and they're coming and going, and we still have a young one to raise, so we're going to be at 3 for about 15 more years. Okay, that's the plan. But the house has capacity for lots of visitors, apparently. All right, time to go make breakfast. Come with me. Where's the hot water?
It's right over here,
Why?
because it's, the shower
Passes it.
passes it.
Exactly. The plumbing is not horribly inefficient because the uses at the beginning of the day help the next uses that are closer to the water heater. If you put the kitchen all the way over there, then you'd be pulling the water to the bathrooms and you'd have to go down the hall to the kitchen. I don't know how the house is designed. We have to figure out how to do this for every building we build. All right, how long is it going to take to get hot water to the kitchen sink? It's about
Instant.
1 cup.
Oh,
So it's like 7 seconds, 8 seconds.
okay.
That's like instant.
Instant, yeah.
And the dishwasher's connected under the sink, and it's going to be practically instant too. By the way, dishwashers are connected to the hot water side of the kitchen sink, right? Not in Europe. They connect them to the cold water side.
And heat it up?
And they have heaters in them that actually heat the water right. Ours don't heat the same way.
And the dishwasher, if it's used at night, there may be cold water going into it first, and not the hot.
Well, if you wait an hour, it's cold.
Yeah, so initially it'll be cold water going into the
Has
dishwasher.
anybody ever
Should be hot.
gotten their dishes not clean? And you did that more than once, and so you called the dishwasher manufacturer, says why? And they say, have you turned on the tap to the kitchen sink before you start the load? No. Do it. They have the same problem with plumbing we do. Right?
Yeah.
You've got to get the slug of cold water out, and dishes need hot water to wash right because of the grease on the plates. Okay? So let's figure out this house one more time. We waited, how much time? It was 3 minutes, I don't know, a total of 4 minutes for the whole house. It happens every morning. Now you come home after work and school, and you sort of repeat the process. You may not take a shower again. If it's the weekend, maybe you did. You got dirty twice, right? Went out and exercised, whatever it might be, worked in the yard. It happens twice a day. The bathrooms are back there. Has anybody ever turned on a tap and lifted a bathroom tap and lifted it straight up about halfway? Anybody?
Yeah.
Single lever faucet, lift it straight up, it goes right up to the middle. What just happened? You drew a little bit of water out of the hot water side, a little bit of water out of the cold water side, and you got a little bit of water coming out of the tap. And you rinsed something. We're done. Rinsed a piece of fruit, our hands, a glass, whatever it might be, and we inadvertently made a draw that came from the water heater too. Oops.
Well, we want it tepid at least. We
But
don't-
that's what comes out of the tap now. If you want it to be warmer than room temperature, you have to wait for it to get there.
I I see, okay.
And this was a minute at a gallon a minute. That was 3 minutes at a gallon a minute. You are not waiting 3 minutes to rinse things. I'm not, most of us don't do that,
It's true. You
right?
could just go to the bathroom real quick.
We're not spending that kind of
You
time.
peed and you're not making a big deal, you just turn it on really quick and you're done. And it's cold.
Right, it's whatever came out.
Yeah.
So you asked about new stuff. You can go to IKEA now and buy a faucet that is cold start function. And what it means is if you lift up the single lever straight up, you get cold water. If you go to the right, you get cold water. If you want to get hot water, you must go left of center. They sell 3 or 4 models, go get one and try one. Okay? They're not the only company that makes them, but they're the only ones I found here in the US so far.
Which is practical in the summer because you don't mind having the cold water, but in the winter, it's too cold coming out of, from the ground outside. And so you have to use that,
So for rinsing, we don't wait. We use hot water, sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. Most of us use hot water for washing dishes. Everyone agree we want hot water for washing most of our dishes? And we want hot water for our showers. And we want warm enough water not to freeze our hands for everything else.
right.
Right.
Okay, that means you're gonna wait to get the hot water back to that bathroom. There is no choice. But that's not our pattern unless it's like, we're washing up at the end of the day, I want warm water. Want it first thing in the morning, you're waiting for it to be warm enough because it's too cold first thing in the winter. But that's part of the wait function to get the hot water from the water heater all the way back to the other side of the house. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, we don't typically wait 3 minutes to do this,
Right. Only to take a shower.
right? Mostly.
Yeah.
If it's important, if we've got to get more than a couple things wet, we will wait,
Yeah.
right? Wash our face, wash our arms, we're gonna wait. I get it. I'm not disputing it. I'm the wimp. I'm gonna wait,
Right.
okay? But mostly, we don't do that.
Right. It's true.
So most houses
You can have a
today,
seat.
they offer us a circulating system, so you have it coming constantly. Take us down that avenue.
I will do that. All right, so I'm not happy waiting 4 minutes at least twice a day to get hot water in my house. Anybody with me?
Sure.
By the way, it wasted how many gallons? About 4 gallons. Now, it doesn't sound like much,
Yes, it does.
but it's bigger than 0, right? My goal is to deliver, my goal every time I design a new building is to waste no more than a cup. Paul told me about a house he made a bet on and won.
I plumbed the house and told him I'd give him $100 off every fixture. He had to wait more than 1 measuring cup for hot water. And when I was done, he took a measuring cup to every fixture.
Wow.
I didn't lose any money.
So it's buildable, and we've given you the way to do that this evening. You can bet any number you want, but if you bet a cup, you better not put more than a half a cup in the pipe. Why? Otherwise, you'll lose the bet. Okay? How much is a half a cup? About half your height in half-inch plumbing. That's it. Ta-da, we're done. We go home. But we don't design well that way. So let's talk about how we fix this house. How many want to try the circulator option?
I got one, but I don't like how it works.
What kind do you have? Is it a button or not button or timer or what?
It's a timer and it's from Home Depot.
Got it. So why don't you like the timer idea?
I don't know what's with it, but it has never worked right.
Okay, and do you have a dedicated return line or do you put the pump under the far sink?
I have it next to the hot water heater.
Okay, and there's got to be a pipe coming back from the plumbing into it to go
Yeah.
there.
It's
Okay.
got the crossover too. It's the one from Home Depot, the pump goes on the water heater and you put a crossover to the first
okay.
fixture.
Which I did.
Got it. Now I know why it doesn't work.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, well, I'll explain.
It really drives me nuts.
Well, I'm sure, it should. All right, so let's talk about how to fix this. We brought a recirc pump to use as an example, all right? I know you wanted to help with this, so you get to hold the pump. Come on, put your papers down, you don't need them. You're gonna have to, where would we put this pump?
At the middle point?
No. You have to put it somewhere where it's gonna draw water from one end to the other. So imagine that keep the water heater there, And imagine we have a perfectly good supply pipe. If we were doing this in new construction, these plumbers would say, well, why don't we just run a return pipe from here back to the water heater? And put the pump back here near the water heater, so when we lose it, we can find it. Right? People lose pumps, trust me.
And that's what
It's
it said
easier
in the
to install
instructions.
that way in new construction.
Yes,
That's
but the
why they-
problem is, your crawl space is not 24 inches or 36 inches deep, it's 12 inches, and he's not gonna fit.
And I'm not going there either.
Right, so there's things in there, we're not going. So the problem in retrofit is it's hard and relatively expensive to go break into the plumbing and bring a return line back. But hey, you guys have a crawl space. Well, I don't, I have slab on grade, I can't go under, I'd have to go over.
Okay.
And I don't know where my plumbing is, because I have 2 stories, no crawl space, attic is full of insulation, I'm not crawling through that fiberglass.
I'm with you.
So I know where the plumbing is roughly, because I have evidence, but I don't go there willingly, and you'd want double for me to do that in my house, because it's hard. By the way, there's no actual path to get from the attic down to the garage where they put the water heater, because that's been built away. It's hidden in. So in retrofit, what I mean by retrofit is that we don't actually change the plumbing. Plumbing stays put. We add things at the beginning and the end of the system, but not a pipe in the middle. Okay? I know retrofit means other things, but in plumbing, to me, that's what it means. So in new construction, we would put a return pipe, and we'd put the pump near the water heater, and it's clear we've made a big loop. Everybody got the idea?
Yeah.
Okay. If the pump was here, how long would it take to get hot water around the loop? Let's assume it's a gallon a minute. We already determined it's, how many gallons outbound? It was,
4 gallons.
yeah, it was probably 3 on the outbound run. Almost 3.
3 plus.
Yeah, 3 plus. So it's 6 on the, call it 6 gallons. It would take at least 6 minutes to prime the loop. Oh, it takes double. It's got to run at least 12 minutes at a gallon a minute in order to get hot water all the way around the loop. But I don't need hot water all the way around the loop. I only need hot water at the end of the last fixture. So I could adjust, if I could either pick the put a temperature sensor out there at the end of the supply, or a timer that matched that, I could say to shut off when I was hot at the end of the supply. There's no need to heat the return. Everybody got the basic idea? But this is about retrofit. You want to know what to do about your house now. So, okay, we're going to go do what she did, and then we're going to do what you want to do. You go stand near the water heater, please.
With the pump.
Yes, please, because that's where yours is.
Well, that's what the directions said.
No, I get it.
And it
You
never
did what,
worked right.
I'll explain why.
Yeah,
So, in fact, they told you to put the pump at the top of the water heater,
yeah, that's what I did.
on like hot outlet.
Yeah.
Good. So you're going to raise your hands up, and then you can put them back down, because you aren't going to be able to hold them there for very long. Okay, good. So the water heater, the pump was at the top of the water heater. And there's a valve under the sink out here in one of these bathrooms or whatever it is in your house, okay?
The farthest back one.
Whatever it is,
I put
and
a
that's here,
crossover.
okay?
Yeah.
And so it's a crossover valve, and the valve inside is about 1/8 of an inch in diameter. And it's a wax valve inside that says when I'm cold, I open up, when I'm hot, I close. Okay, there's no time clock, it's just a wax valve. And so cold means it's room temperature. What's the temperature in your house? I don't know, about 70 degrees. I don't know, 68, 70, I don't know what it is, varies across the year, about that number. Is it about that number?
I'd say 60, I have a wood stove, so she.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's colder,
yeah, it's colder.
but it's not outdoors, it's
No, not
indoors.
outdoors.
And so that's your cold starting point, and whenever it's cold, it's open. Okay?
The valve is open.
The valve is open. When hot water reaches it, it shuts off, it closes. And let's do the math. Let's just assume the water is moving at about 1/4 of a gallon a minute. I don't think it is. I think it's moving at 1/8 of a gallon a minute. But let's just call it 1/4 of a gallon a minute, and let's just say it's 3 gallons. It's going to take at least 6 gallons to clear it at 1/4 of a gallon a minute. That's how many minutes? 24 minutes?
Yeah, 24 minutes.
Your pump doesn't run that long. You set the timer on to close in 10.
Yeah, I did.
That's why it doesn't work.
12.
I've not met you till now. But the physics won't let it
Right.
get there,
Oh, so that explains it.
okay?
Yeah. I
And
had
so-
other people read the directions and try to do it too, you
So
know?
what I want you to try is to take the timer and make it 30 minutes and see what happens. I don't know how far your house is apart, but you can do some basic math. What kind of plumbing do you have, copper or PEX?
It must be copper because it's 1775.
It might be galvanized still, but probably copper. Probably, new in California in the mid-70s was probably copper.
Yeah.
So that means every 2.5 feet of 3/4 inch pipe is a cup. Roughly 40 feet to a gallon.
Yeah.
So you can sort of pace out where you think the plumbing is and get a good estimate.
Does it always go in the attic?
No,
It goes underneath?
I don't know, do you have slab?
No.
Then it probably goes in a crawl space.
Okay.
Sorry, if you get a crawl space, plumbing tends to be in the crawl space.
Okay, well, I wanted to
Yep.
ask this question too. Is it worth insulating
Yes,
underneath your crawl space?
yes.
And is
The crawl space or the pipe?
the pipe in the crawl space and the floor of the crawl space?
That's a separate question. On the plumbing side,
Yeah.
yes. Why? You actually want to get it to the other end of the house, and it's cold. Will it matter for the first draw? Yes, a little, because it's cold here in your crawl space. If you make the crawl space room temperature by insulating not the floor, but the sides into the footing, right? And you've now enclosed your crawl space, it's more like room temperature. So instead of 40 degrees or 38 degrees, it's more like 60 degrees in your house or 70 in some of ours, right? It will vary, but it'll be closer to room temperature. The closer you are to room temperature, the less insulation matters for the first draw. If your draws are always an hour or more apart, pipe insulation won't help you. If you have clusters, morning rush hour, lunch, on weekends, evening plateaus, those kinds of things, pipe insulation helps you in all of those cases. Got it? Pretty straightforward. All right, that's your system, okay? We've covered your circulator. And the reason it has trouble is because that valve doesn't allow a very high flow rate. And so you
Didn't
have
even
to,
say that on the package.
we won't go there.
I was
All
trying
right.
to figure it out, and I looked it up, and I read all this stuff. I really could not figure it
Well,
out.
now you can't hear it, now you have an answer. All right, come on. Now, there is another style of pump, which is a pump that goes, look, the style you have is a push system. The pump is at the water heater and it pushes out into the hot side.
Right.
What if we were to pull it through the plumbing? So we're gonna talk about a pull technology. And you're gonna put a pump under one of those two sinks. Okay, you can just put it down there if you want to, and then you don't have to hold it all the time.
So
It's gonna be there under the sink, and it's gonna cross between the hot side and the cold side.
So that's the cross, wow.
And the cross goes through the pump. There's a check valve in the pump, and there's a temperature sensor in the pump. And it's got a full port flow. So it's not at 1/8 of a gallon a minute, it's closer to 2 gallons a minute.
Whoa.
That's a big difference.
Wow.
All right, now,
Is it wax?
no,
Okay,
it's a temperature sensor.
okay.
You see that little black thing here? You see it?
What's that kind of pump called?
I'll get there in a minute.
All right.
Everyone see the black temperature sensor? It's built into the pump. And it's a sensitive temperature sensor, it's good. This pump this pump is what got me into hot water.
Really?
Yeah, the manufacturer called me when I was working at the Energy Commission and asked me how long it took to get hot water in the house I lived in, the furthest fixture back then. And that was in 1991, 2, somewhere in there. And I pretty much told them to go away. I was working on something else that was a bigger issue at the time, and I'm a pretty simple kind of guy. I work on the big issue first, and then the second biggest next, and I keep going down the list, right? So I was working on space heating and cooling back in the early 90s, because that was the biggest residential energy use, and that's what I was working on. Water heating was number 2. I wasn't willing to work on it, but I was willing to listen. So this guy says, how long does it take to get hot water, the fixture for this and water heater in your house? I said, I don't know, long time. Go measure it. Okay. He calls back next month. Have you measured it yet? Nope. He called back every month for a year. finally, to make him go away, I got up one Saturday morning and I stood there with a bucket and a stopwatch, and I measured 4 gallons in 4 minutes till hot water got to my shower. We lived in a 1,600 square foot single-story slab-on-grade house built in 1978, the first year of Title 24 energy standards in California. It wasn't a big house, it was a US median home the year it was built. I could see the plumbing, it ran perfectly neat and straight right above the insulation in the attic, because back in 1978, you only needed R19 attic insulation, and that fit in the 6-inch cord of the truss. So I could see the plumbing running right along top of it. It was very nice, neat, clean, and straight. No pretzels. We've seen pretzels in plumbing. This met the union rule. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous plumbing. 3/4 inch all the way. I'm pretty good with math. Quick calculation. There's 2 gallons of cold water in the pipe. How come it took 4 gallons till hot water got there? And in 1992, I couldn't explain that. I just knew it was true. So I called all my friends all over the country and said, how long does it take in your house? Don't wait a year to tell me. And they called me back over the weekend, and they gave me numbers, and they told me of their age of their home and how big it was and how many stories. And we did some quick math. It was getting worse, not better, as houses got newer.
Oh,
Now, I've been in the efficiency business since the mid-'70s. It shouldn't be doing that. Something's wrong here. And I started out on a quest in the early, it's over 25 years ago now, to figure out why it was wrong and how to fix it. That's why I'm able to stand here with you this evening and talk about it. We've been investigating the whys and the hows and what makes it work better for 25 years. We've been designing a new plumbing system based on what we learned for over 15 years. You took a class 10 years ago where we talked about this, right? It works.
I still use it all the time.
So we know the principles. We don't know exactly why some of the things are as silly as they are in the physics, but we know they keep being silly, so we can design around it. I'm an engineer, okay? We can make it work. So we put the pump here. Who knows when they plan to take their next shower? How many will be tonight? How many will be tomorrow morning? Okay, you know now roughly when it's going to be. I even know how you know. You turn on the tap and go do errands. You have a routine. Anybody brush their teeth while they wait? Turn on the tap, wait. Anybody make the bed, get their clothes ready, walk the dog, turn on the coffee, check your texts.
I'm a tree hugger, I would never do that.
But if it takes 3 minutes, what are you going to do? Anybody have buckets to collect the water? Oh, good. We're in tree hugger land. That's great.
collect the water.
But, you know, I'm getting older and that bucket doesn't get any lighter. Okay? And we shouldn't.
Right.
We're doing the right thing, but what if we didn't have to do that and we got the value of it, right? The service. So this pump operates when you tell it to. You want to get up early, go to work middle of the week at 5 in the morning? You press the button at 5 in the morning. It has a button. You want to get up on the weekends at 4 to go fishing or 8 to sleep in? Your choice, right? You come home for lunch on Wednesday, it's a special, you got to come home. You want hot water to wash the dishes and get things ready? Press a button. How many buttons? As many as you want. How many pumps? 1, if your plumbing is designed right. And we have a technique on our website that you can download and try to figure out your plumbing without actually seeing it. We created a technique that allows you to suss out the branches and the trunks and figure out who's connected to what and decide where you could put one of these pumps or one of the valves for yours. It's the same technique. I like to put wireless buttons next to the head of the bed, next to the alarm clock. I'm a morning shower guy, okay? I usually shower after I wake up, okay? But hey, I can hit snooze, right? Now, this house, there's 2 things here. Anybody got little kids? They know how to push buttons, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes little kids they're desperate to go to the bathroom when they run into the house from the garage.
Yeah.
What if you put a button right next to the garage door at their height? They're headed to the bathroom, push the button. They'll remember. They love to push buttons. They'll press the button, they'll run down to the bathroom. By the time they get here and get done, guess where the hot water will be? Here. So that gets warmer water.
You put a pump at each
No, just one.
No, think about how our plumbing was set up. We know this is the end of the house,
So that's the button to activate that.
but I can put the buttons anywhere I want them.
They're EMF buttons?
So if you're
No,
not,
they're radio frequency buttons.
if you're not a maniac about the 3 minutes, that you just design that into your day, but you are a maniac about wasting all that cold water, then you could just have a button right there in the bathroom. First thing you push it and the water comes and it turns it off. So it's sitting there waiting 3 minutes until I get around to it.
Yes,
Because I could be dawdling over the cup of coffee.
you can do whatever you want. You have a routine now, running water down the drain, you can still have your routine not running water down the
And
drain.
what brand do you recommend?
So this pump is made by a company called Demand Controls, D''MAND, controls with a K. They're actually here in California, in Costa Mesa. There's a competitor product from Innovative Group, Enovative. And Taco, we'd say taco out here, they say taco back east. They have a product that does something similar, and Runfus is gonna have their own product in a few months. So there's like 3 or 4 brands to pick from. They're all demand activated in accordance with what the California Plumbing Code says. Okay?
And there's
The California Energy Code, not the Plumbing Code.
supposed to be some coming out where you will have an app on your phone, to where you just use your phone for the button.
Yeah, so it's coming. The future is coming very quickly.
I couldn't stand that, but
I
anyhow.
couldn't either.
But the idea is that, so you asked earlier about why I would put a timer.
Yeah. That was at the water heater.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Even, oh yeah, you can put it on.
I can put the pump back, I can put this in new construction, do the same thing. The pump doesn't care where it is as long as it makes a circle. The plumbing's gotta leave the water heater, go through the pipe, and go back to the water heater, otherwise it won't work. It runs water down
But
the
this would
drain.
be more efficient because you're pushing it in the cold water system, cold water relatively, whereas you're pushing cold water back into your hot water tank, which then has to be reheated again.
Right, and so in general, the water in your house is warmer than the water coming in from the well or from the city. So it's more efficient to push it back and reuse the water that was cooled down than it is to start fresh.
My understanding, you would have lukewarm water on your cold side if you have that pump right there.
Maybe, but let me tell you how this one works. The pump that you've got
Yeah.
shuts off at about 95 to 100 degrees. The valve does, right? The
That's
problem is,
about right.
if it works right, that's what it's supposed to do.
Right.
So you'll find that, and what you'll end up with is that if your valve was here, you'd end up with a certain number of feet of warm water in your cold water pipe.
Yeah.
Remember, it's moving pretty slow.
They even tell you that.
Yeah, they have to, because it's
Yeah.
true. And so it does that. But that's because the way the valve works, it shuts off slowly. It's looking for a specific temperature around 100 degrees, and that's when it shuts off. And so if one side of the valve is 100, so is the other side of the valve. Well, cold water in Grass Valley is 60 degrees. Inside your house, it's 60. Inside mine, it's 70, right? But that's cold water. So 100 degrees is going to feel warm. Well, that's nice, but I'd rather have cold water, particularly if it's the kitchen. Okay? This pump has a different brain. The brain in this pump says, when I turn on, when you tell me to turn on, I'm going to check the temperature in that sensor. And it's going to say I'm 60, 65, 70 degrees, whatever it is. When I see a rise of 5 degrees, I'm going to shut off. So the hot water won't be here, it'll be about 10 feet back. In retrofit, that's way better than 8 miles away, right? We got close. But it shuts off when it's still cold water. Okay? Now you press the button 10 times in a row, it'll eventually hit 105. Okay, but that doesn't happen very often. We press it and we watch and it presses again, and there's only 3 or 4 of us in the house, so we press it 3 or 4 times and the water's now 80 degrees. Okay? The moment you turn on the tap to take a shower or wash in the sink, you just drew that water back out again. You won't see it. Okay? We rarely use all hot water. We tend to use mixed temperature water. So it's very clever for doing this. That's how it works. All good? Timers, one more thing before there. Timers, you have to guess when you plan to use hot water.
That's the hard part.
How about a timer though, where you push the button and you've learned from experience, you can set it for 30 seconds or 45 seconds, so
Yeah,
you know I should do 33 seconds, because that's when it goes up.
Most people aren't willing to learn, like you just described, but you could do it. In fact, you could
But
do
most of
it.
them are of this caliber that you're describing.
The ones that are built like this already have the brain built in.
Yeah.
It turns out that the temperature sensor acts like a timer, and it adjusts to whatever the temperatures are in your plumbing. So if you already brought hot water to the kitchen, it wouldn't run as long as if you hadn't started yet for the day. The temperature sensor sorts that out. You don't have to guess for the timer because it's now got half as much plumbing, right? It just figures it out. You pay a little bit of money for the privilege of the brain, but the brains have been figured out, and the manufacturers have warranties, and they've got stuff that works, and they stand behind it. Okay? Yes?
5 more,
For the whole day?
no, 5 more minutes.
So that's it? Okay, we did good. All right, so let me show you a few other things I want to talk about before we're done. And then, we've been talking for a long time, folks. I hope it's been useful. I'll cover some of those, but not necessarily on tape. I want to talk about elbows and insulation and drain water heat recovery. So, insulation. The California Plumbing Code now has a rule for pipe insulation, and the Energy Code in residential matches it. Okay? And the rule is that the wall thickness of the pipe insulation shall be at least equal to the nominal diameter of the pipe. Half-inch pipe gets half-inch wall thickness. 3/4-inch pipe gets?
3/4 wall.
Oh, good. 1-inch pipe gets?
1 inch.
2-inch pipe gets?
2 inch.
What does 4-inch pipe get?
2 inches.
2 inches.
What?
What we said is, I helped write this section of the code, so I actually know why it was done the way we did it. It came from the German energy standard. And in the German energy standard, their rule is for all pipe 25 millimeters or 1 inch up to 4 inch, you have to do this rule, wall thickness equal to nominal diameter. And we thought about that for a while and said, well, okay, but what if, how many feet of pipe is 4-inch diameter? Not much. Most buildings are small. Most buildings have 3/4, half-inch pipe in them. In fact, all buildings have half and 3/4-inch pipe. It's a question of how many feet of them. So what we figured out is that probably 80% of all pipe ever installed is less than 2 inches in diameter. So we made a rule for 80-20. 80% of the pipes get this rule. When you get to bigger than 2-inch pipe, you should have a plumbing engineer around. Let them figure out the diameter of the wall thickness. Okay? But for everybody else, we're going to do 2-inch or wall thickness equal to nominal diameter. It's an easy rule to remember. I don't care what material it is. It's not exactly the same for all different materials, but you tend to put the same material in. So you'll get the same basic proportional answer. What's really clever about all this is that if you do this rule for pipe insulation, every foot of pipe has the same heat loss rate. Almost identical into the first or second decimal place. So it's a pretty good way to work the numbers. That was the first one. Drain water heat recovery. Oh, should you insulate hot water pipe if you want to deliver hot water?
Yes.
Required.
Well, it's required, but you asked about retrofit too, and the answer is sure, if you can get there, do it. Don't worry about what's hidden in the walls. Get what you can. Do as good a job as you can, and when you do pipe insulation, you actually want to put the straps around the insulation, like this.
I didn't know.
Don't cut it and fit it, do it around it. Why? You don't want screen doors in your submarine. You want to be well insulated all the way through. Okay, we're good. So drain water heat recovery. What temperature do you take a shower in? About 100, 105, somewhere in there? It's in the ballpark. How much hot water runs down the drain when you take a shower? All of it. I understand why the water runs down the drain. I want to know why you let it leave your building hot. What if we could capture some of the heat and reuse the heat? Wouldn't that make sense?
Copper line coming around there.
So this is a very short segment of what should be 4 to 8 feet long. I can't carry 4 to 8 feet long. It's got to fit in my bag. Weighs too much. But this is a short segment of what's intended to be a vertical drain water heat recovery device. So most of us don't have 4-foot deep crawl spaces. So we'd want to turn it horizontally. You can still do 4 feet, but you'd rather have 8 feet to get the equivalent of 4 feet vertical for this style. There is a company that makes horizontally designed ones that are the same 4 foot to 4 foot. But the trick is to capture the waste heat. What does it do for you? Well, it gets about half of the temperature difference. So if the water goes down your shower at 100 and your cold water coming in is 60, the outlet temperature of this will be about 80. Well, that's hotter than you ever get in the summer around here. You just warmed up your cold water. Well, what are you going to do with it? Well, I can put it into the water heater, or I could put it into the shower valves. In this house, the water heater is 8 miles away and the shower's out here, so I'd probably use it to preheat the shower valves. Not the hot side, the cold side.
So the pipe goes through that?
No, the cold water goes in here, comes out warm here, and the drain, the shower water goes through the middle.
Wow, have you ever been to the Localizing California Water Conference in December at Yosemite?
I have, actually,
Oh, really?
many years ago.
Because like I've seen the big, huge, giant ones that are really expensive and they're outside your house.
Oh, that's different. That's a gray water capture system, I think.
I think it was from off the shower though, and it was really expensive. This looks more reasonable.
This is more reasonable. Under $1,000 installed in new construction, and retrofit's not much different.
What is the name of the manufacturer?
Well, there's 3 or 4 of them. This one is from Thermodrain. This is Thermodrain from a company called Eco Innovation. There's renewability.com. Send me an email, I'll send you a list.
Great.
I don't have it in the top of my head. All right, 2 more things, and we'll be done.
I was wondering what that is. And the
I
shower
promise.
hotels.
Well, this is maybe the same, maybe different. Have any of you ever turned on a shower and walked away and forgotten and come back when there's steam going out of your shower? That's called routine every morning, because that's how we get hot water, that's what we know. Well, what if there was a device that had a wax valve in it that shut off when the hot water actually got to the shower? Okay, would that be pretty clever?
Yes.
That's this device. It's got a little wax valve built in here. When the warm water comes to it, right, the cold water's coming through the pipe, that's the structural waste. When the structural waste is cleared out, warm water hits here, 95 degrees, it closes the valve, and it closes it down to a trickle. Well, when you've installed it, you're going to listen for the trickle. It's your signal that the tea kettle boiled, right? Tea kettles whistle. This doesn't whistle, it changes the sound coming out of the shower. And it's distinct enough, and you can hear it, particularly if you're still in the bedroom area, you'll find it, you'll hear it. And when you're ready to get in the shower, you might still be finishing up an errand, you come back and you pull the chain, and it opens the valve to full flow for your shower.
How long are those?
They're not very expensive. The website for this is Think Evolve, like evolution, thinkevolve.com. This is a good one. Now, they also make them for tub shower combo fillers. So they have one where this is built into the downspout, and it attaches to a shower. And so it moves at whatever the downspout lets the water flow at, 4 gallons a minute, so it happens faster. And it automatically pops up to the shower. So if you're planning to take a shower, it's already set up for that. You pull this chain, and it magically gives you a shower. Okay? It's very clever. One of my favorite new devices. One last thing I want to talk about has to do with elbows. What does this look like to you?
3/4 copper 90,
And you've done a few of these in your lifetime of work, right?
1 or 2.
Anybody ever seen one of these before? Recognize what it looks like? This is a common shape of an elbow. Okay? Which has less pressure drop? 190 or 245s?
245.
It's a smoother bend. Everyone got the idea? Okay. Which one has less pressure drop? 245s or a short radius sweep? How many aren't sure?
Well, I'm gonna say sure, just take bacon and put stuff the other one.
Well, this one is probably a little bit better than this because it's got one less joint,
That's friction.
right? I've been to places where they tell me they make perfect joints.
Very.
We're in California, you're supposed to laugh, okay? And then they tell me how they tested to make sure this was a perfect joint. They take it apart and look at it. You know you have to put it back together again? So it's not that easy to make perfect plumbing joints. You have to ream them properly, you have to sand things, you gotta make it fit right, and that happens every time, right? Say yes. Okay, so this is probably almost as good. What about the long radius sweep compared to the short radius sweep? Longer is better. What about long radius or long radius? It turns out they're almost identical inside corners. And so they have essentially the same radius of curvature. It's a different fitting technology, but it's the same pipe. Okay? Which is better?
That one.
One in there.
We call this a swoop.
Not a sweep.
Well, I trademarked the name, swoop, so I get to call it a swoop. That's an elbow, that's a sweep, that's a swoop. If you insist, we'll make them for you. Okay, we make them. It doesn't take very much, we know how to do it. And it turns out if you plan for this, it's actually fewer feet of pipe. It's more like the hypotenuse of the triangle than this one is. You see it?
No, I framed on it.
But, sorry,
The same thing, but it's got kind of.
you got to plan for it. You know how to plan for it. Do that all the time. And so, if you wanted advice on elbows in copper, get long radius sweeps and plan for them. Yeah, they cost more. I get it, but you save it in the feet of pipe of straight pipe. Copper's mostly by the pound now. You can make these in your shop. We did this with hand tools in 2 minutes. Okay? Not hard. If you're using plastic pipe, PEX in particular, bend it. Do not use elbows. What we've been measuring is that the pressure drop through this elbow is a little under 1 foot of equivalent length of straight pipe, so about that much. In PEX, 1 elbow is worth about 10 feet of straight pipe.
Because of the ID
It's
restriction.
the ID restriction and the shape. Okay? So you really want to minimize insert elbows. We all good? Okay. I think we've run out of official time. I want to talk about solar hot water for a minute, because that's still the hot water piece. How much hot water do we use a day?
75 gallons?
10 gallons.
Per person. Let's do per person. What do you think?
34. 10
Are you
gallons.
including laundry and everything?
Everything.
Dishwasher too?
Yeah. Whatever uses hot water, sure.
50 gallons.
Per person.
Do a little laundry
30.
and dishes.
30.
It turns out it's about 15
What?
per person. We've got national data, we've got California data, and it's about 15 on average. Look, the variation is enormous. I'm not disputing that it changes a lot and depends what you do. You get under a crawl space 3 days a week, you gotta wash those clothes. It takes more water than me, who doesn't do that.
They're not necessarily hot water anymore these days.
For clothes washing, we mostly don't. We only use about 30% hot water now out of our wash. Whereas when I started out 40 years ago, it was virtually all hot water. My mother switched to cold water washing without my advice.
Why?
If I gave her advice, she wouldn't take it. No, she listened to ads and she and her friends tried it. I don't know. I had nothing to do with it. It was before I was interested in this particular question. And she made a decision to switch. This was back, I'm going to guess, in the 70s. It's a long time ago she switched. Okay? This is long before I got interested in this question.
That's when all temperature cheers.
Bingo. And it had to be advertising, because there wasn't any science behind any of it. They said, try it, it might work, and they did. So, but we mostly are at about 30% hot water out of a total out of our total washing load now. okay? But a shower, national average showers are about 8 minutes long. They've been 8 minutes for over 20 years of measurements. Thousands of households, three or 4,000 households have been studied around the country, including California, and the average has stayed 8 minutes in all studies over a 20-year period. Shower head flow rates have changed a bit, but showers are about 8 minutes long. Remember, if you got teenagers, all bets are off. Okay, it's fine, that's what happens. So it's about 15 per person per day, not every day. Right?
So in 1 minute, you're using like 2 gallons of hot water?
Yeah, it's between 1 and 2 gallons a minute. That's about right today, certainly for all modern fixtures. Okay? That's what it is. So back to the solar water heating question.
You don't really need it.
What, you have to heat 15 gallons a day worth of hot water per person. I already told you about my house. We went from 6 to 3 in a year. What size am I designing for? I'm not going to keep going up and down and changing panels. It's too expensive. I'm going to pick one. Well, the dilemma with solar water heating, I love it. I installed my first solar water heater in the 1970s, about 1974. Okay? I installed my first PV panel in 1979. I've been doing this for a few years.
Me too.
And I love them. Problem is, you got to plan for them.
Plus, we have the drawdown problem here.
The drawdown of,
Well, it freezes here.
oh yeah, so you got to bring it back. So you either have to run antifreeze or you have to run drain back,
Yeah.
which you can do either one, right? So you now have to start it over again. Solar water heaters got a really bad rap in the late 70s and early 80s because too many people who didn't know what they were doing installed them. And virtually all the systems failed. In the 90% or higher range failed.
Yeah.
Unless your installer was around before the rebates came. And the installers were there before the rebates actually knew what they were doing, and the ones who got in after the rebates came because it was a business didn't know what they were doing so much, and an enormous number failed. The result of that was new rules for installation, which added another $2,000 to the price of a water heater. So we have to go back to simpler ways of doing it.
You know, I looked at a house that had solar panels and it heated up water before it went into the regular hot water heater, so it just took less fuel to heat up.
Right, so it's a preheater.
Right.
So the trick on that one is to say the smallest panel in the biggest tank. Imagine you want a 50% solar fraction, just to pick a simple number. And you want 50 gallons a day of hot water for your household. Again, a simple number, it doesn't matter what it is. You could get 50% solar fraction by heating all of the water, half of the water, up to full temperature, or you could heat all of the water halfway. And so all the water halfway to a preheat to then a finishing heater makes sense. If you go to gas tankless, it doesn't like warm, cold water. So it won't fire right. And so you have to match technology
You
together.
can buy them that are set up for preheat,
Yes,
for a solar panel,
you can.
but they're
But
expensive.
yeah, you have to make sure it's matched.
Right.
People come to me every week and say, I have the best thing since sliced bread. And that's nice. I'm glad. I hope it works. I hope your product does what you claim it does. That's my test. But now you as a consumer ask me, well, how's it going to work in my case? And I have to now put together a system. And not all things that are the best things since sliced bread make a good sandwich. And so we have to make sure that the system works right. Okay? Thank you. You've been a great group.
You could take all your links and give them to Renata.
Yes, so I will send an email out with some of the different manufacturers and specifications on the products that he covered in the workshop. And I also want to just briefly mention that there will be 2 other workshops this spring, so in May and in June, and those topics will be different. The next one in May will be taught by Ray Darby. He's a solar and heat home efficiency specialist. So we'll be talking about the thermal envelope of the building and lighting. And then in June, that workshop will be covering heating and cooling efficiency, HVAC systems. So thank you so much for your
So I
attendance.
need your help.